Here are 5 NBA teams that should definitely try and trade for Russell Westbrook. Now, before I get started with this video, I know that Michael Zemba made a pretty similar video discussing if Westbrook should be traded, and as I was watching that video, I thought to myself, if Westbrook were to be traded, who should he be traded to, and what teams would be willing to give up certain assets and pieces to get Russell Westbrook, and what assets would the Thunder be getting back if they were to trade him. Now, if you guys want to check out Michael Zemba's video, I'm pretty sure you all have, but I'll drop a link in the description, and yeah. The last thing that the Oklahoma City Thunder need is keeping Westbrook this season and not getting anything back for him if he decides not to re-sign with them in the 2017 offseason. It'll be exactly like losing Kevin Durant this year. I mean, if the Thunder lose Durant one offseason and Westbrook the next offseason, it will go down in one of the worst mess-ups in NBA history if they can't get any pieces back for the future. They've already lost Harden, they've already lost Durant. If you're an Oklahoma City Thunder fan, you should be praying that you don't lose Russell Westbrook without getting anything back. Anyway, let's get it started. Number 5, the New Orleans Pelicans. This team is at number 5 for a reason. I really don't think they have a huge chance to get Russell Westbrook, but the New Orleans Pelicans can't look at Westbrook and not see the perfect companion next to their Buddy Hield and Anthony Davis combination. Although, if they were to try and get Westbrook, I'm sure that the Thunder would look to get Buddy Hield in a deal. In saying that, even if the Pelicans were to give up Buddy Hield, the duo of Anthony Davis and Russell Westbrook would be absolutely ridiculous. For the Oklahoma City Thunder, well, that's the real question mark. We all know that Davis likely isn't going anywhere, and it's difficult to imagine that either side would be willing to make a Buddy Hield move before he even gets a chance to show what he can do on the court. That doesn't leave New Orleans with a whole lot to work with, so they would need to be confident that whatever they give up, it will be worth it. If I'm the Pelicans, I'd be willing to give up Buddy Hield and a few players and maybe a few future first round picks, but this trade is very unlikely to happen, and I'd be extremely surprised if the Pelicans and the Thunder made a deal. Number 4, the Miami Heat. If you're a Miami fan like myself, looking for the upside of the franchise after Dwayne Wade leaving, consider the possibility that it leaves the door wide open for Russell Westbrook to join the Heat. The Wade departure hurts on a spiritual level, and it left a lot of Heat fans very unhappy. But the fact of the matter is that the aging Dwayne Wade isn't likely to see his best years ahead of him. In fact, I'm almost certain, and even though I'm a huge Wade fan, I think he's really not going to show off in Chicago. I think we've already seen what Wade can do, and I think we're going to see a steady decline. In saying that, imagine if Miami could pull a trade off that sends Russell Westbrook, who is very much still in his prime of course, to the Miami Heat. Of course, the departure of Dwayne Wade does inspire the interesting question of whether or not the Heat would be willing to make a Westbrook trade now, as opposed to waiting for his free agency period next year. Even worse, the players that they might have to give up to get Russell Westbrook would compromise the value that Westbrook could potentially bring to the team. If the Heat were to make the trade, they'd probably have to pray and hope that he'd want to re-sign back with them. The Heat would probably lose Dragic and Winslow and maybe even Josh Richardson. So is it really worth it for Miami? I mean, we'd have Westbrook, Whiteside and Chris Bosh if healthy, but the lack of depth and young pieces that we'd be losing, I guess it's just better to hold off for just one more season and let Pat Riley do his magic in free agency. That's probably what the Miami Heat should do. But in saying that, Russell Westbrook and Hassan Whiteside, I'd love that. Number 3, the Minnesota Timberwolves. Durant left the Thunder to join a super team, and in today's NBA, that's something that all players seem to be looking to do. The Minnesota Timberwolves already have Karl Anthony Towns, probably one of the best upcoming players in the NBA, and Andrew Wiggins, another one of the best upcoming players in the NBA. That's a nice young duo to build around for the future. What they lack is a guard. Enter Russell Westbrook. The Timberwolves could have a dominant big three as soon as the 2017-18 season if they trade for Russell Westbrook. Imagining Westbrook, Wiggins and Towns is absolutely scary. Trading for him would be the hardest part obviously, especially since it can be assumed that both Towns and Wiggins are untouchable. But the Timberwolves might have just enough assets to pull a trade off. They'd probably have to ship Zach LaVine and Chris Dunn, and maybe even Gorgie Deng or a similar player like that would be the 3 likely pieces involved. LaVine and Oladipo as a front court, and maybe even Chris Dunn coming off the bench for a young future piece, provides the Thunder with a potential long-term replacement. Sure, losing Zach LaVine would hurt, but he would be surplus if the Timberwolves had Russell Westbrook, and he sure has more value than Ricky Rubio. If Westbrook doesn't re-sign with the Minnesota Timberwolves after the one season, at least they have Ricky Rubio, right? No? Okay, moving on. Draft picks would probably be very likely to have to be added as well to make the trade go through. Westbrook might be willing to re-sign with Minnesota though. If he plays for a year, he might realize how good Towns and Wiggins truly are. The Minnesota Timberwolves have cap space and assets to trade to make a competitive team fairly quickly. Consider them a dark horse, but a very serious one. I really like their chances, and I'm not gonna lie, they also have a great coach in Tom Thibodeau now. They have a huge shot at getting Russell Westbrook. Number 2, the Los Angeles Lakers. The LA Lakers seem to be committed to a scorched earth rebuild similar to the one that the Philadelphia 76ers are undergoing. However, I'm sure that the Lakers would most likely welcome Russell Westbrook to play near Hollywood, which is very close to Long Beach, where Westbrook was born and raised. As mentioned earlier, it would take quite a few young players to get the Thunder to trade Russell Westbrook. The Lakers just might have enough to get him though. D'Angelo Russell would most likely have to be part of the trade. Russell would be a risky piece for the Thunder to add, but he is the pure talent necessary to potentially be a game-changing point guard, much like Russell Westbrook himself. If the Thunder are willing to be patient with him, unlike the Lakers, Russell could thrive in Oklahoma City, with Victor Oladipo by his side. That would be a pretty scary backcourt if we're basing off potential. However, the Lakers might not have any motivation to trade him just quite yet. I doubt the Thunder would take D'Angelo Russell, especially since what they could get from a Minnesota Timberwolves deal, they'd probably have to add Brandon Ingram or Julius Randle into the trade, in addition to picks. Let's say that they did get rid of Russell and Randle and maybe a future first round pick. Does LA go all out and try to get Russell Westbrook to pair up with Jordan Clarkson and Brandon Ingram? Or do they wait one season and hope that he wants to play where he was born and raised and comes to them through free agency? That way, they'd keep all their young talent and picks, and they'd also add Russell Westbrook through free agency. That might mean that Jordan Clarkson or D'Angelo Russell would have to be traded in the future, but what they could get back for those two guys would be pretty valuable. And if they could just keep all their young talent, plus add Russell Westbrook, that would be absolutely insane for the Los Angeles Lakers. After all, the Los Angeles Lakers are extremely likely to at least be getting a meeting with him next offseason. But if the Lakers could get Westbrook to agree to a contract extension as part of the trade, it would be pretty interesting. Number 1, the Boston Celtics. Speaking of future draft picks and assets, no team in the NBA has as many of those as the Boston Celtics do. Plus, they have the direct motivation to go out and trade for Russell Westbrook right now, since they've added Al Horford in free agency. The Celtics are looking to win a championship now, and if any team was going to make a strong push to get Russell Westbrook this season, it's got to be the Boston Celtics. Isaiah Thomas could be part of the trade if Westbrook agrees to an extension, but if he doesn't, the Thunder would most likely have to accept a package that revolves around Avery Bradley, Jaylen Brown, and at least one future Brooklyn first round pick. Bradley averaged around 15 points per game during the 2015 season. He would give the Thunder a very solid point guard to replace Westbrook, or even play shooting guard and let Oladipo run the one. Jaylen Brown, a first round pick of the Boston Celtics in the 2016 NBA draft, would also be very likely to be involved in that trade as well. Brown is a promising small forward / power forward who is an extremely raw talent, but we don't really know his potential just quite yet. I mean, we've only really just seen him play in Summer League. The Brooklyn pick will probably fall into the top 5, and if the Thunder can get a top 5 overall pick, that could be extremely enticing. So, with the package of Jaylen Brown, Avery Bradley, and a future Brooklyn pick, gives the Thunder a young duo of players to potentially build around. Let's say they have Bradley and Oladipo running the point and the 2, Jaylen Brown at the 3, Enes Kanter and Steven Adams at the 4 and 5, as well as Sabonis off the bench and a future Brooklyn pick. I'm just saying, that's not a bad selection of young players to build around. And as for the Boston Celtics, a team led by Isaiah Thomas, Russell Westbrook, and Al Horford would likely at least challenge the Cleveland Cavaliers in the Eastern Conference. But in saying that, it could definitely blow up in their faces if this doesn't work out. In the end, is it worth any of these teams giving up some valuable assets to get a player that might not even re-sign with them after just one season? Honestly, I don't know if it is. I mean, if I had to choose a team that would most likely try and get Russell Westbrook, I think it's got to be the Boston Celtics. Anyway, the Thunder have to make sure that they get a great deal for Russell Westbrook and not screw this up. But the other teams that are trading for Russell Westbrook also have to make sure that they have a strong chance at re-signing him during the offseason. So it'll truly be a crazy NBA season coming up, and I cannot wait for the NBA trade deadline. Anyway, I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, I'd honestly appreciate it if you could hit that subscribe button if you're new. I make a whole bunch of NBA related videos, and I'm coming out with some NBA 2K17 news videos soon. And yeah, if you guys are new around here, hit that subscribe button. And as for my current subscribers, I really appreciate you guys showing love on every single video. If you enjoyed this video, please drop a like. Let's see if we can reach 2,000 likes. That's the goal for this video. Anyway, comment down below any other teams that you think should make the push to get Russell Westbrook and who they should give up to get him. I'm out. Peace. The 10 greatest NBA Big Threes of all time. So with all the news about Kevin Durant joining the Warriors and all the talk about super teams in the NBA, I decided to make this video discussing what I thought